I'm so excited to be partnering with Cheffie on season 11 of the podcast. Cheffie is not just a platform, it's a dining revolution. It transforms the traditional dining model, giving chefs the power to launch virtual restaurants, set their own menus, prices and hours, turning every chef into an entrepreneur. Their platform liberates chefs from the confines of a fixed location, offering them the autonomy to craft their culinary destiny. For foodies, Cheffie is a passport to a world of flavours, delivering diverse cuisines directly to their doorsteps. It's convenience, variety and connection all in one place, just a click away. Today is a good day. I am sitting with Candice Brown on the sofa, ready for a chat, and it's been a long time coming. Candice is a baker, pub landlady, cookbook author, and charity campaigner. She famously won the Great British Bake Off in 2016, and since then has created a life that has taken her from baker to cook, to owning her own pub, to trekking up mountains, to writing books, all whilst bringing her chirpy, chatty character along for the ride. Candice has been very open in talking about mental health along the way, and I'm just so happy to have her here to delve into her life. Candice, welcome to Crazy Sexy Food.
Hi.
Hi.
Laughing because before this we've just had the weirdest little 30 seconds. And I'd like to say that's not normal, but it is completely normal.
It's very normal. And I think we should be proud of the fact that we swear a lot.
Yes, a lot of swearies. I always
Absolutely. Let me start with asking a simple but loaded question. How are you?
Oh, interesting. Do you know what? At the minute, I'm struggling a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a funny few months. Just struggling. And I know there's obviously so much going on, but yeah, just struggling a little bit. I think mental health is taking a little bit of a battering. Just a little bit low, a little bit kind of all over the place, and just don't know, like in this weird state of kind of worry. But I think a lot of people are feeling that. Yeah. But yeah, it's a funny one. But thank you for asking. But yeah, it's a funny one.
I mean, how do you? We are going to go into this a little bit deeper in a bit. But you know, when you are going through these moments, do you sort of have your, I don't know, are there maybe top 3 things that you sort of do, or are there methods that you have in place to kind of just to get through a day? Because that's sometimes what we need to do, is just to get through a day.
It's weird. I kind of do, but at the moment they're struggling to work. Like do you know what? It's brutally honest. I've had to say to a few people, do you know what? Like, I'm not great at the minute. But do you know what? I'm my own worst enemy a little bit, because I literally will just carry on. Yeah. I will just carry on with what I'm doing. There's probably a little bit of burnout in there. But I think a lot of people this time of the year are. But yeah, it's a funny one. I'm trying to sort of look at different bits and pieces, because I think I need something else at the moment. I can give advice until I'm blue in the face, but I'm not very good at taking my own. But like walking, like we'll talk a little bit probably about the treks and things, like they really do kind of reset me. The dogs, obviously, and then just kind of being in the kitchen. And do you know what? Working. I love working, and I feel like I'm at my best when I'm working, and when I'm not working, those little intrusive thoughts get in, and I find that hard. But how are you?
Thank you for asking. I think you're one of the first guests
always
that's
so
ever
important.
Actually asked me that question.
Oh,
take note, future.
Bloody hell, guests.
I know. I'm good. I think also the same as you. I think it's been a very it was a very crazy year, and lots of ups. I had a baby, but also lots, and I think that is a huge life change.
I mean, bigger than huge, probably.
Just a fraction,
teeny tiny, and whole life.
Yeah, we're just kind of marching on through. Really, I think same as you. Like, I have to be working.
Work's been a funny one this year, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And I've struggled with that.
Yeah.
I don't like the way it's going.
No.
And I know we've spoken a bit away from things about what's going on and how it's going, and how us being probably quite old-fashioned people, in that I think I am definitely older than you, but old-fashioned people in that you work harder, that's how you progress. You work hard, you are kind, you are decent, you are good, and this is where work comes in, and that's enough. But it seems to be social, which is amazing. Social media is amazing, but
love-hate relationship there.
Wow, at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's showing that I think us busting our asses just isn't quite enough at the minute.
Yeah,
and
I
I
know.
find that really difficult to deal with.
And I very much openly vocalize that.
I
find
do as well.
I find the social media thing, I don't love the fact that my talent or how I progress is measured by that.
Yeah.
And that's a big struggle for me.
I feel like the same, and it's probably this is either going to go down really well or not very well. But I am running. I own and I run a pub. I live above the pub. I am there 24 hours a day. When the cleaner's not there, which we don't have a cleaner at the moment, I clean.
I saw your post.
Fucking hell! Sorry, that deserves a swear. The men's
Are there any
toilets.
cleaners out there?
The men's toilets. Why? Why am I cleaning the urinals? Honestly, we were having a conversation with Black Cab the other day. Sorry if you're going to listen to this podcast and hoping for like tips and hints about how to make a lovely cupcake or a cookie. No, I'm going to tell you about cleaning your urinal. Okay,
We'll add a tip in at the end.
Yeah.
You got to listen to the whole episode.
Yeah, to get your tip for how to get pubes off your urinal. I promise you, I do wash my hands and shower before I then go into the kitchen. But yeah, I do feel like a bit like a glorified caretaker sometimes. Yeah. And most of the time, like, I'll be in the pub and the pub opens and I'm still in my pajamas and people are like, you got a table for two? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like just standing there like, what is wrong with me? Like, I looked down at myself the other day and I'd done 2 hours of service. I was out the front. No, I was out the front, so serving food. And I had odd socks on and sliders. So not even closed-toe Crocs, which I do wear in the kitchen, it's obviously comfy. And no one thought to tell me that you've got what you're wearing on your feet is awful, because that's just expected of me at the minute. And like, actual mental. Not only do I feel a bit mental, I look mental. And I'm serving people food. But yeah, sorry, going off on a tangent, which will happen a lot, so I do apologise. The whole thing of I'm there 24 hours a day. I own the pub. I work in the pub. We are so short-staffed. There is like a few of us like Soph's there. We're there all the time. The guys in the kitchen. So I'm in the kitchen. I'm out the front, and I don't have time to show how to make a beautiful cupcake with a beautiful surrounding with me in full makeup and lipstick. You're lucky if I've got a bun on the top of my head that's slightly central, that it's been washed, and I've got a bit slightly central bun. Yeah, the more I've killed in my bun is, the worse the day's been. And that's it's up, because I think, how is what me and my brother, what Soph, what the staff have done over the last 6 years now not enough? Because it's not being shown in a beautiful little square on Instagram or a video on TikTok. How is that hard work? I find it insane, and it hurts my heart in actual fact.
I completely understand the struggle.
I do get it, because I know how amazing social media is, I do. But I'd love to go back a little bit and be a bit more old-fashioned, and that hard work and being a decent human being pays off, because sometimes the non-decent humans are getting work as well.
Well, there we go.
I want to kick them up the bum hole.
And that's a whole conversation we can have off camera.
I mean,
how long you got?
But
listen, I want to take it back before we kind of get onto a few of the things that you've just mentioned. I want to take it a little bit back to your childhood. So you were born and raised in North London.
Yeah.
I want to know what life was like growing up, because you grew up in your parents' pub.
Yeah.
So kind of paint the picture. Who was around the kitchen table? Who was cooking? What were you eating?
Yeah, so born and bred North London, Edmonton, Tottenham. I am a Tottenham girl.
You do realise you're sitting in...
Yeah. I think we have spoken about this before. There's a very deep breath over there, Leo. There's a very deep breath.
By the way,
I'm
not part of this conversation.
I know.
So basically, for anyone that's listening to this, there is an Arsenal supporter sitting behind the cameras.
He's about 6 foot away currently. I did bring some lovely cinnamon socials from a bakery, because I didn't bake myself because forgot, organised. Might not let you have one now, Leo. Sorry about that. Joking. You can have one.
The good thing is that I'm from a Spurs family.
I know,
it's
you
all right.
told
Yeah,
me this as
we've spoken
well.
about this.
That must go down like a sack of shit.
Oh yeah, it was great
It's
when
one
they
of
met.
the first questions. Why is it always one of the... Who
I
do you
know.
support?
Yeah.
Who do you support?
They don't watch football anymore. My husband and my dad do not watch football together anymore.
So when I was a teacher, sorry, again, we've gone off kilter
That's
again.
all right.
When I was a teacher, my boss, like my big boss, Pricey, was there for about 10 years. He was a massive Arsenal fan. And we used to row for 3-4. We'd get to Thursday and go, all right, you're right, yeah. And that was it. After a while, we just said, shall we just not mention it? Because it was ruining our week.
Yeah.
But also, football's just ridiculous. Anyway, born and bred Edmonton, Tottenham. Only one team in London. What? So mum and dad run pubs. So Edmonton Green, 3 block of flats. So mum used to literally, so dad was cleaning, like dad always tells the story, when they come back from their honeymoon, dad had a £5 in his pocket and they had a beautiful 3-piece leather sofa. And that was it in this on floor 12, Edmonton Green, and a Yorkshire Terrier called Brutus. So dad was cleaning. My sister Tanya was there as well. So she's a little bit older than me. And mum used to go to the market. Lift was never working. So literally, like, I feel you need to kind of, I feel like it's like imagining like Del Boy's flat. That's what we used to have to drag the buggy, the Yorkie, as in not pudding, but Brutus, and me, and I was a lump, up and down 12 flights of stairs and go to the market. And she just said, like, it was one of those places where Edmonton Green Market, if anyone knows, back in the day, it was that she'd hand me to someone at the market and then pick me up at the end, and that's how that was.
Love it.
Mum and dad went into pubs, so I spent a lot of time with my nan and granddad growing up, who were from Edmonton. I spent a lot of time with them. My nan was a dinner lady, and I speak very, very... I speak all the time about her. She was a dinner lady. She was my person in this world. She was my absolute apple of my eye. Granddad was a caretaker, and nan, wherever she was, I was there. So mum and dad took on these pubs. I think when they got a little bit maybe hairy, me and my sister were then shipped out to my nan and granddad. So lived with my nan and granddad for quite a few years growing up. And then my brother came along. And so there was the 3 of us in like the room with my nan and granddad, and obviously we'd see mum and dad, but trying to build a career for themselves as well, which they did 25 years in the pub.
Amazing.
But I spent a lot of time with nan and granddad, and that for me, my nan is where I hope, or I love that whole romantic thinking that is where my love of food and my little bit of naturalness of understanding food or wanting food come from, because she was just the most amazing cook. She was the most amazing baker. She did everything by hand. My granddad used to love cakes, and all of her cakes, and just mainly eat cake, in all honesty. So I think kind of that's definitely where it stemmed from. And then just growing up in the pubs, obviously big, huge families, so we'd always have them at the pub. My nan would normally cook, obviously mum help him. And then obviously as you get older, the family kind of gets a little bit smaller and things like that. But yeah, mum and dad obviously having the pubs was mainly kind of, I suppose, wet-led pubs, but they would have like your food, and it would just be pub food. It'd just be good pub food. Very kind of different, I think, to what you get kind of now. But yeah, I definitely think it's, I mean, my mum's a great cook. She is a great cook. But nan is, I think, where it kind of stems from. So that was my nan, my nan Margaret, which was my dad's mum, and Fred was my dad's dad, and then Ivy was my mum's mum, who wasn't so much of a cook. However, her palate was 98% sugar. Honestly, and she lived to about 94.
This is what I'm saying. There are some exceptions to the rules.
Salad. She used to eat Maltesers all day and every day. Once a week, she'd have half a prawn sandwich. You'd take her biscuits and stuff. She'd keep the good ones for herself and offer us the rubbish ones in the cupboard. Honestly, 98% sugar, and she lived to about 94.
So, I mean, sort of back to these sort of meals that you would have. What dishes can you remember that sort of define your childhood?
Growing up was just homely, pure comfort food. That's what it was like. Pies, cottage pies, shepherd's pies. My nan would always have like smoked haddock, and it would always be the yellow smoked haddock, which obviously I know, but I don't know why, just that. And then like things like having mackerel, and just mum making so the only time really growing up we would sit down, me, mum, dad and my brother, and have dinner together would be a Sunday. Because as I well know now, pubs are the most unsocial thing in the world. People think they're amazing, but they are literally if you're working, you're not spending time with the family, you're not eating together, you're literally passing, you're up early, you're bed late, and that's how it is. But Sundays we would normally have a Sunday roast together, because dad would have a few hours upstairs together. But what they did do was work to take us on holiday, work to travel. That's where our time was spent together. Okay. Which was just amazing. So again, the obsession with markets stems from, I think, Edmonton Green, but also going away. The first thing I want to do to go to the local market, I want to see a local market. Even if I'm here, I want to go to the local market. But Nan was just it was comfort. It was cottage pie with grated onion, because my brother could pick out a grated onion out of anything, because he just wouldn't eat a vegetable. Her roast in it's I can still kind of see it all on the plate. I can still taste it, and nothing kind of replicates that. And then just her cakes and her puddings and just things like that, really. It was comfort, homely, traditional food, just done perfectly, and sounds cheesy as fuck, but with love, really.
Yeah. But it's not cheesy, because that for me is
those
are the memories you're thinking of, and those are the moments where meals were cooked with love.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can always tell a meal when it's cooked with love.
Always. But like even now, like things like fish pie and stuff, like mum make one, I say, I'll bring me a bit of fish pie, and I don't know why, mum's fish pie is just brilliant.
Yeah.
And it was the same sort of with Nan. Like, I know what her cottage pie was, the most simple thing, but I can literally see it. I can feel the textures in my mouth because of it's just how she did it.
Yeah.
It was weird, but like I was talking to someone the other day, never ever had like pasta or spaghetti bolognese. I don't think really even rice, because that's not what she cooked with. That's not what they had growing up. So
how old were you when you pulled your first pint?
Oh gosh, there's a picture of me with my godfather Don, and I am a babe in arms, and he's holding me, and I'm like over a pint. And what I was doing there was mimicking me with my mouth wide open over this pint, eyes on the prize. I mean, not dissimilar to how I am now. In all honesty, yeah, I think you've seen me do that.
Yeah, always.
But yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of the first things I learned to do. Dad, learned, well, you're there, so you wanted to be able to pull a pint. It's interesting as well. I think living in pubs, me and my brother were never really fussed about like drinking loads of Coke and lemonade, because it was on tap, it was there available. So we weren't massively, it's the same with like, I suppose, like having the food that was available at the pub, like the chips and burgers. We were never massively fussed, although my brother didn't really eat much anyway. He was picky as I've never known anything like it. Bit better now. He's grown up and he'll eat a prawn and eat an apple every so often. Sorry, Benji. But yeah, pulling a pint, learnt to do that. Changing a barrel, learnt that very early on. And one of the very first things I learnt to do was peel a prawn. So de-shell a prawn. So obviously being in Edmonton, the fish stalls, we'd get there and we'd go and see Nan and Grandad, we'd sit and peel. So peeling prawns was one of the first things I did learn to do. And do you know what? That's a life skill. Because I still go out now and people will still pass me their prawns to peel.
Do you know what's funny? I can peel a prawn, but I can't be bothered. So if my mother is at the table, I will still pass them to...
I'll peel your prawn.
That's friendship right there. That's love right there.
I'll peel your prawn. You can pay me in one of your prawns.
Oh, all right.
Actually,
I'm not sure about that. I'm not very good at sharing.
Prawn tax. Me either.
I mean, sort of, hearing all of this, it doesn't really come as a surprise to me that you end up going into food. It feels like the people around you were sort of really instilling that love. Yeah,
I think so. I think that's probably, it was always there. I think at school, I wasn't, and I now know obviously reasons why, but academically fair to middling, maths absolutely no point, history not a chance. Geography, wasn't even allowed to do it.
There was obviously a part of you that clearly was, and you are an intelligent person,
Well, it was
because
just-
you become a teacher eventually,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I said, okay, you're gonna, I know, laughing, and everyone goes, but what did you teach? So it was anything that I didn't have to be sat down. I was fine. So excelled in drama, food, made a woodwork, made a brilliant box, brilliant bag, anything like that. I was well good with a saw. But then my dad and my brother are builders, so so anything like that, completely excelled in. The stuff I had to sit down, really struggled with. Just can't remember things. I now know, obviously, that is ADHD, and that is where, and because I kind of behaviour was semi-okay most of the time, apart from the subjects, I just can't, it's just the remembering stuff. I'd then go, oh, okay, I'm done with this, which is what happens now. I kind of was that grey child, and obviously having been a teacher, I know what those coasters, the one that don't cause enough problems to be flagged, and because obviously sport and things was something I excelled in, I always loved my sport. Went on to do a degree in PE. I had to change my degree because the first one I started with was heavily science. Realised 2 weeks in, I'm in big trouble. Had to swap to something that did not have exams, and this was all me just realised, as girls do, coping mechanisms. Just doing it because that's what I had to do. And then came out, still wasn't sure, but I always kind of knew I wanted to probably be a teacher at some point. So did that whole thing. I did a year as a flight attendant.
did you?
I mean, you'd never guess that I would fit in to do that, would you?
Oh my, I would love to be a flight attendant.
Honestly, you think people are bad in hospitality, stick them however many bloody miles in the air, they're 100 times worse.
Really?
What's wrong with people?
I
Someone
mean-
passed me a Pringle tube full of sick once. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just put it in the bin. Just take it with you. Why are you not embarrassed about that?
Oh,
It was interesting. And I got a written warning once for having an unruly bun, but I mean, I don't think
it's
it was
like
for
bloody
me.
fun again.
It's that sodding bun. Bane of
wasn't
my life.
central.
It was not central.
Okay, so that ended abruptly.
That ended after a year, and then worked as a receptionist at a gym. But I knew, and then I was like, right, come on, you're going to have to go and do. But I knew I couldn't go back to uni. I'd had enough of uni, and that whole learning, that whole sitting. I can't do any more of that. So I did a GTP, and I went into secondary PE teacher, and then within a couple of years was head of year, so pastoral, which is what I want to do, the behaviour side of things. So did that. About 5 years, went to another school because I had a little dip in, well, I had quite a big dip in my mental health. I suffered quite a severe trauma, which is what caused a lot of my mental health. So went to another school trying to get a little bit of a break, and was just bullied by the staff, the students, the parents, just for that whole thing of just not fitting in. It was just insane. When I look back on that, I'm like, what on, how would a place like that exist? Why on earth did you give me the job? But anyway, so I lasted 6 months there and then went to Ashlands, which is where obviously I was when I started Bake Off, and I was looking after the special educational needs and inclusion department with the wonderful Ellie, who allowed me to also pursue the baking side of things and the bake-off side of things. So, taught PE. So when people go, but you must be intelligent because you were a teacher. Yeah, I taught how to throw and kick stuff, but also the other side of things.
She still does throw and kick stuff.
I love throwing and kicking stuff.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that there's an element of, listen, we're all going to bat ourselves down, right?
Yeah.
Like you...
Yeah, and do you know what? I was a really good teacher. I was a really good head of year. I was harsh because I knew, I could hear everything. I could see what was going on. This is what I used to say to them, and I was one of these cheesy teachers that got into it to just try and make a little bit of a difference. And I just started to fall out of love with it when the ticking of the boxes and the kids are robots things, becoming from powers of above, was just... Being a teacher so low down on the list of things that you're doing, especially working in a special educational needs department where you're changing the avenue of these students' lives, but because they're not going to get the grades that are needed within the school, it's not enough, and I hate that. It just and then just while I was there, the head teacher and Ellie were the only people I knew, the only people that knew that I was on Bake Off and allowed me to kind of to do that.
Well, we obviously do need to talk about that, because this is sort of the defining moment, I guess, that kind of you sort of go from that chapter of Candice to kind of the beginning of the chapter that sort of is now, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that was, as I said, a defining moment, a huge change in your life that catapulted you, created a whole new career, created a platform, fame, all of what comes with it. Sort of in a sentence or two, what was your experience like on the show?
I loved every second of it. I loved every second of it. We laughed from the moment we all met, and we still laugh about stuff now. I loved every second of it. I wouldn't change any of it.
That's so nice to hear.
Loved it. And what you saw
is what it was.
Exactly what it was. And I know that's not the case for everybody. I know it's not the case for all shows, but it really was. What you saw was what it was. We laughed. We probably weren't, for sure, the best bunch of bakers that have been and things like that. But you know what? We all we wanted to be on the show for no other reason than we loved the show and we wanted to be part of it.
Why did you apply to the show in the first place?
Loved it. I love the show.
Fine. Okay.
I love the show. I loved baking, and I was so desperate to be part of something I loved so much. And that was literally it. There was no other reason. There was no, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that better. It was never that. I just wanted to be part of it. I loved it so much. I wanted to be part of it.
Did you think you could win?
Absolutely not. I didn't even think I'd get on. I nearly went out kind of week one. I had some real up and downs. My downs were really down, and then the ups just blew my mind a little bit. And as with the Bake Off tent, you're only as good as your last bake. And yeah, things that should have gone well didn't, and things that I was worried about went really well.
What's that feeling like? I mean, listen, because with Bake Off now, I mean, it's global. People in America talk to me about it. They're obsessed with actually Bake Off. It's such a quintessentially British thing.
We have people come
for
to
them.
the pub. We have a lot of people come to the pub from America who are
Really?
visiting London, and they'll bypass through on the pub to eat at the pub things like
I
that.
love that.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But I mean, what is that feeling like when your name gets called?
I mean, as you probably see, I look like I'm doing some sort of Irish jig, and it obviously was so not expected. And I don't know. There was just no expectations of that. There was no, it meant more than anybody would ever know. And I kind of said at the end, that whole thing, I'm good. I'm good enough. And I was battling quite a lot with not thinking I was good enough, and when the show aired, there was a lot of press. I got very, very heavily trolled for everything from how I looked to my face to my teeth to throwing a wobbler. Well, I wasn't throwing a wobbler. It was pure panic that people were just going to think I just wasn't good enough and I shouldn't be there and I didn't deserve to be there, and to complete and utter false stories being printed on the front page of every newspaper, trying to sort of, I suppose, degrade my win that actually I won through sheer hard work, putting every penny of my savings into every minute of my time and working so hard, because I wasn't the best baker. I don't think I was the best baker by far. And I'm not taking away from anybody, but we all worked so hard. But I knew because I wasn't the best, I had to put everything into it. So I was getting antiques sent over from France to decorate my bake, to put my bakes on and things like that, because I knew everything had to play a part in this. And I wouldn't have changed it, because that's how I am. I will put 100% into everything I do for it to be that. And yeah, I loved it so much. I loved it so much.
I can see it the way you talk about it. I can see it in your eyes. I mean, thank you for being honest about sort of what you were having to deal with when it did air. And you and I have actually spoken about this before, but I'm sorry that you had to go through that. And to be honest, I'm sorry to anyone that has to go through this, because that conversation and this subject of social media and people feeling that they have the right to be able to speak to somebody else or behave in a certain way blows my mind. And the fact that we still don't have, I mean, we're living in a world where we practically have, well, we do have self-driving cars and robots that can do everything, yet we still don't have proper filter systems in to stop these trolls is beyond
it's mind blowing.
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
It is completely mind blowing for me. And do you know what? It's funny because I was going to say, when you were like, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you. Oh, yeah, it's okay. But actually, no, it's not okay. But you go, oh, yeah, it's okay because that's what we do as humans. But I mean, for what I suppose what I got is probably nothing compared to what other people got. But also even comparing what other people get and comparing your level of trolling.
Having the conversation in the first place,
isn't it?
No, totally.
But just I think it's just really sad, and I just for me, I was working so hard, and people just took what they kind of saw, and just made assumptions, and the messages or the tweets or Instagram or the stories and it was just like, you've actually got kind of no idea. And for me, it's not. I'm a good human. I'm a kind, decent human. I really am. I don't have that horrendousness in my body to be awful back. So I'd never be horrible back. But I would often call people out and just say, just let you know, I have seen this. I'm not really sure what I've done to upset you. I've seen your profile. You've got what looks like either daughters or females in the family or young children. I really hope that no one's as awful to them as you've just been to me. Sometimes they go, oh God, I'm so sorry. I didn't think you'd see this, blah, blah, blah. Or sometimes they just go, oh no, you should expect this now. And I go, right, okay, well, you can't argue with stupid, so fine.
Yeah.
But I'd call people out because actually you don't need to be doing that. I didn't have it to be, I mean, I might have said some awful names in my head, but to say out loud, I never could do that. But I think it had to be called out. But it was just, yeah, God forbid a woman wears lipstick or a pair of high heels to make a cake. I mean,
wow.
Or even go in the kitchen. I mean, blimey, or even have like male friends. I mean, it's just insane because you can't. It's still, and I just, but still, it happens in the pub. But yeah. It's just, I wouldn't change any bake. Honestly, I loved it so much. I mean, I went back and I did the New Year version because I loved it. And they said, oh, you've got a lot to lose. So I was like, what? I've already won. So I made a cake that looked like a giant dog's lipstick, didn't I?
Of course you did.
It was supposed to be a lipstick and it looked like a giant dog's dick. Honestly, and Noel's been really rude with it, and it was all saggy because Noel's been rude with it, and then like, saggy.
Stop it.
I thought it was a bit of fun. I thought we were back on Bake Off to have some fun. Clearly, I took that fun too far. But it was supposed to be a lipstick because I was being ironic, and it just backfired.
It backfired majorly.
Yeah, I've got
That's
a pug.
all right.
I've got a pug who, anyone knows my pug Albert, his lipstick is often out, and it was very. Why? Honestly, it's just me though.
That's
what
good.
an arse.
You don't change.
No,
that's what I'm going to say.
That's
Don't change.
trouble.
But I think something, sort of taking away sort of the negative side of things.
And that was a minimal piece.
Yes,
it was minimal.
No, I know, but still, it's still.
They're the bits that stick. Of course, they do.
This is the problem, right? You know, you get 25 compliments, you get one bad comment, and that's it. Game over. Yeah. But something that I'm always quite interested by with these shows is sort of like, obviously, you've got the delay. You filmed that over the summer for X amount of weeks. It comes out in the autumn. Suddenly, now everyone knows your name. Suddenly, you know it's the social media thing. It's that, you know, talking about what happens immediately after that sort of whirlwind journey that you kind of now enter. Brand deals, fame, opportunities. How did you cope with all of that? How did you find it?
It's just bloody weird. It's just so weird. It's still weird. It's like when people stop and go, hi, or when people come into the pub, there's someone out there who would like to meet you. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Just crazy. Like, because I had no expectations. And this was the thing. Like, I didn't go into it going, I want this, I want that. And I think there's so many shows now where there is so much opportunity for people afterwards. And I don't blame people for going on shows and going, yeah, after this, I want a restaurant, I want book, I want this. But it's interesting because actually, I mean, this was kind of 8 years ago and I suppose social wasn't so big. But I had no expectations. I didn't know what was going to come. I didn't know. I went back to teaching. I was still teaching. It was only when my head teacher, it was only when my head teacher said, like, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, go and do this. Like, and I was so grateful to have the support because he said, like, if we're teachers and I'm a head teacher, to kind of students, like, do what you want to do, follow dreams and stuff. And he goes, I've got to support my staff in that as well, which was amazing because not everybody has that support. But I had no expectations. I didn't know what was going to happen. So obviously these things come in, you go, right, okay, and would you like to go to this event? And then all of a sudden, like, people are coming up to you going, oh my God, I loved you. And you're like, what? Sorry? And yeah, trying not to act like a complete tit. And then, oh, we'd like to do a book. And it's like, right, okay, yeah, sure. Like, God, is anyone going to want to buy that book? And yeah, just, it's do you know, it's just insane and amazing. And I don't take any of it for granted. And yeah, it still blows my mind. It still surprises me. I know how lucky I am. But I also know I've worked really hard. Yeah. I probably could have earned a lot more money taking every job that come my way, but anything I've done has always been stuff I've believed in or would do myself. I wouldn't ever take anything on and go, someone else will do that.
Which, interestingly, is literally my next point, which is that something that I've really admired about you is that you have... I hate this word authentic, but there's no other word yet for it. No. Let's just run with it. But you have created sort of this, well... not persona, because you are who you are, but it's an authentic brand. It's outward facing. It feels very real. It's just and that clearly was important to you though as well, although it is who you are.
Very, very much so. I didn't want to be, there's no point in me going, do you know what, I'm going to do cakes and I'm going to do bakes that are covered in decoration, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can do it. And there are, if you go on like things, there are bits where I have done. I made these beautiful dragon egg cakes a little while ago. And I mean, so proud of them. I mean, they took me a fucking week, but I was so proud of them because I can do it. I've made wedding cakes for friends and family. They take me a week and I lose sleep and I cry. And I'm so proud of them and I can do it, but that's not what interests me. So I knew that was not the avenue I could go down of going, right, I will do celebration cakes for people. Everything I do, you'll probably notice, is pictures are always taken close up so you can't see the shit in the background. And
that's the stuff I also want to see. See, I think you should be shooting it with everything.
Oh, but this is like the videos and stuff I do are at the pub. So you'll see, like, I'm making the puddings in the pub, or I'm making, and you've got the boys in the background walking past.
Love that.
Because that's how it is. It is a working kitchen. I don't often wear kind of all makeup every day. I am normally in dungarees, or if I manage to change out my pajamas.
Or an odd sock.
Always odd socks. I mean, these are both white, but they are odd.
She's actually wearing odd socks. I've just realised.
At least they're both white. The other day I was like, I thought these were matching because they had hearts on. They were like, they're not matching. They're two completely different socks, but they both had hearts on. And I just, there was no point in me trying to be anything other than I was, because I love food. I love making stuff. I love learning. That is what I love doing. So I will talk about things that I'm doing. I will give reasons or give ideas of how to do it. I will give ways to change it. Use those half-dried spring onions in your fridge and stuff like that, because that's what I do at home. And I think it's so easy to kind of go down a route and be something you're not. But for me, I wouldn't be able to keep it up. If I'd have started out with everything that I was doing was me completely glammed up. And I mean, obviously I do you do these campaigns and they have full hair and makeup and you're like, I do not look like this at home. Normally I can just see my hands or the bottom half of my face. But yeah, there's no point in me, because I wouldn't be able to keep that up. And I just think it's for me, it's really important to do the things I love. And I love learning. I love traditional stuff, just done how I do it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I don't tell anyone.
Sort of touching on the books that you just mentioned, you have two. You have Comfort, you have Happy Cooking, sort of all about easy, no nonsense cooking. Yeah. But I really want to just have a chat about Happy Cooking. I feel like this was a really pivotal book because it very much addressed your mental health, mental health in general, as well as your cooking. Why was it important for you to write this book, and how was the process?
So Comfort came very early on after Bake Off, and I literally had about 3 months to get that written. Yeah, it was really quick. And also, like I say about doing everything myself, I wrote every recipe. I tested every recipe myself. I had no help. I had no home ec. I didn't pass any of the recipes over. Go, can you do this? Can you write this? I did it all myself. I wrote all the intros, everything. Same with Happy Cooking. But Happy Cooking came a lot later. Happy Cooking came in a very, very difficult time for me personally. A big change in my personal life, but also a worldwide change in that really weird C word, that COVID that cropped in, and the whole world kind of went, oh, and we're done and we're shut down. And so for me, baking and cooking had always been my go-to place when I was happy, when I was sad, when I needed to completely absorb myself and have no one around me. My mate Anna would ring me and say, are you okay? And I'll go, I'm just doing some baking. She'd be like, right, I'll be over in a minute, because she knew maybe I wasn't okay at that time, because that was head down and baking more than I knew what to do with. And this came when my mental health started to deteriorate following this trauma. And I'd always kind of done that, and it was the same through Bake Off, and this is why it was difficult. When people saw what they saw, they didn't realise what was happening kind of underneath, which is why it's important not to judge on the face. And then, yeah, everything that I'd been doing with food, as in like when I wanted a little bit of self-gratification, whether I wanted to make someone smile, whether I wanted to be fully absorbed, whether I wanted to just do something with my hands because I didn't know what to do with my energy, people started doing during COVID at home because they suddenly had time. So all of these things that I was doing, people were seeking solace in making banana breads, making cakes to leave on neighbours' doorsteps. People started doing what I'd been spoken about. And I'd not really spoken about my mental health up until then. And as a teacher, I'd kind of said to people, like, don't ever hide stuff. You're okay as you are. Yet I'd hidden this thing all through Bake Off, everything. And I thought, no, it's okay to talk about stuff. And I was really struggling, and it was getting harder and harder to hide it with the various different bits and pieces going on. And I just thought, you know what? No, this is me. I do have clinical depression. I do have PTSD, chronic phobia, and then a diagnosis of ADHD. And that is the opening paragraph in that book. But I am also a landlady. I'm an author. I walk mountains. I've been on television. You can be both of those things, and that's okay. And for me, I went, right, okay, let's talk about that a little bit more. And Happy Cooking there are chapters in there which is hours baking when you want to just be fully absorbed, do stuff with your hand, beat the shit out of some dough. There are chapters in there where you can have something made in 20 minutes because actually, do you know what? I'm not feeling good. I'm going to make something because I can't keep eating super noodles as much as I am obsessed with noodles. Or 2-for-1 recipes. So you make something and you use the leftovers the next day to make a completely different thing. Slow cooker recipes. No, it's not it's not reinventing the wheel. It's just how I do things. And if it means people are having a little bit more of a chat or finding, I don't know, solace in food, or understanding where your food coming from, or even just enjoying the process, because food isn't just fuel. It is everything. It's the smells, it's the textures, it's how it looks, it's how it invokes a memory, it's nostalgia, it is a gift, it is a gift to somebody else, it's a gift to yourself. And I think sometimes we get so lost with stuff that we need to bring it back to its simplest form. And I really hope that Happy Cooking does do that. Like I said, it's not reinventing the wheel, it's not going to win any Michelin stars or awards, but I'm bloody proud of it. And I think it's still one of those things that I do worry about speaking too much, but we have to do it. And I think we're getting better at it, but there's still movement for that.
Was the process quite cathartic for you, or was it quite difficult?
I struggled a lot more with this. I struggled a lot more. I had a lot longer. It got pushed back quite a lot. As I said, a lot going on kind of in the personal life. And there were days where, because I was having to get up and obviously having to bake and then write. And there were some days I was like, my brother and his now fiance, were having to scrape me out of, like, get up, come on, up you get up, get out of bed. Because we were also trying to run the pub and keep the pub going when in lockdown, and that was takeaway food and everything like that. And in between all of that was like, right, I'm going to do this book. And yeah, so completely different to kind of the first one, but just completely more personal, but also just, yeah, it is a lovely book, and it's just kind of how I do things and how I like to do. But Yeah, it was an interesting one. It was an interesting one compared to the first one, for sure.
I mean, for me, I'm quite fascinated by this link between sort of mental health and food. If you are going through a moment in time where you're feeling a bit rubbish, like you've opened up and said that you haven't been going maybe through such a great couple months, does your eating change? Is it hugely affected? How do you kind of navigate that?
Yeah, very much so, I think. I think at the moment my diet's pretty awful. Normally it's not too bad. I'm a real balanced person. I'm one of these everything in moderation. Do you know what? Have your cake. Life can be difficult. Life can be tough. You can go through a lot of shit. You can go through a lot of difficulties. You know, if you want that bit of cake, do you know what? Have it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a second bit, do you know what? Have a second bit and just have some salmon and some spinach for your dinner.
Yeah.
Like, that's my mentality. I know that doesn't work for everybody, and I know that's not scientifically or dietary correct, but everything in moderation. Have a bit of what you want, because I think sometimes we get so, oh no, I can't have that. That becomes damaging in itself. Yeah, if I, like when I'm on my ADHD, I take my ADHD meds, appetite can get suppressed. So if I'm going anywhere, and I'm laughing because I nearly killed us when we went to New York because I knew I wanted to eat everything. So I didn't take my meds. But obviously when I don't take my meds, it's a whole different ball game. So when you're like just wandering around like so overstimulated but so happy, and you got like cars flying at you, like, ah! And then, have you taken your meds? No. Ah! Like, because it's just that weighing up. But yeah, it's a funny one, but there is definitely a link.
Let's talk about the pub. You took on the Greenman pub in Eversholt with your brother Ben.
Yeah.
What challenges?
Why?
Why did you do that? Is actually basically what I want to ask. Why would you do such a thing?
Literally, when we told Mum and Dad laughed. That was it. He just laughed. And we were like, oh. We hadn't been so I'd always said I'd love something from being younger. I'd always said I'd love a little bakery, but like an old-fashioned wooden bakery. You know, the ones that are like health and safety. Don't make a bakery out of wood because you're cooking. But in my head, that's what I want.
Yeah.
With like shelves and a ladder, and again, everything that I should not have, glass jars, sweet shops and stuff like that. And then I suppose Bake Off obviously slowed that down. But then my brother said, if you want to do something, let's look at that together. He's a builder, incredibly talented builder. And so we started having a look, and we found some units, got taken the piss out of a little bit. And then he said, oh, I found this pub. And we'd been through like this whole thing of just taking the piss out of a little bit, which it's just people in it, just take like, and then when they say stuff to you, you go, okay, I'm done here. I'm not having you literally do that. And we went to see the pub, and I went, oh my God, I love it. Pulled into the car park, and Ben went, don't do that. And we put in an offer that day. And that was the beginning of December 2018. So just 6 years ago. Wow. We signed. Well, we'd been open just about a year, and we were sat. So we opened it, did it as it was all through December, shut in January, did a big full refurb on it, opened again in March, and then a couple of days later we were shut for COVID. And it was like, oh, okay. So I had to do everything, because it's just us. We have no backers, we have no investors, we have no brewery. Every single penny that's gone into the pub is from us. It's probably why I have very little. Everything we do comes from us. And yeah, we there was no option of it failing. There was no option of it shutting. It had to stay open. It had to work. We kind of did that.
But you're
tough.
still here.
We're still here.
6 years later.
I don't know how I'm not bald. I mean, hospitality at the moment, so many small businesses and places are getting shafted left, right and centre. But hospitality, it's just what's going on at the moment is a lot. And we're kind of fighting fires all over the place, and the battles are just continuous. And it often means that I am suffering, because it's like, well, okay, well, I'm going to have to kind of do it myself. Which you do when you own a business. You of course, you do what you have to do. But it's tough. Relationships suffer, friendships suffer, family, everything becomes quite a lot, which probably obviously accounts to kind of mental health and that burnout and things. But when it's your business and things have to work, it's what you do. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of what we have achieved. The food is unbelievable. It is just good pub food, just done perfectly. Seasonal, we change it to the seasons. We try and be as sustainable as possible, get as close to as possible. The menu changes, like set menu changes sort of every week, sometimes daily.
Okay.
Pies of the day that change almost daily. All the puddings are mainly mine, apart from when the chef's like, I'm going to do this for a pudding. I'm like, come on guys, don't show me up here, like it's all I've got. But yeah, it's incredible. Cocktails are all made from scratch, so yeah, you might wait a little bit longer, but we've worked so hard to create something so incredible. I'm so proud of it. I don't love it a lot of the time because it is so much, but I'm so proud of it, and I know my brother is as well.
And what does the future hold?
There might be another little place in the pipeline.
That's exciting.
Yes,
okay.
So yeah.
What can you tell me so far?
So we have another little place not too far from the pub. We always said we'd love a second place. We'd love to do something else, and yeah, that time has very much come.
Okay.
So yeah, keep
Stay
your
tuned.
eyes peeled for hopefully sort of spring. Yeah, Woburn a little bit more towny,
Oi,
but
oi, oi.
yeah, different to the pub. Going to be very, very different to the pub. But obviously, the idea is that people from the pub will go, "Wow, let's go over there," and from there, people will go, "Wow, let's go to the pub." Because do you know what? It's been over 8 years since Bake Off. I've been doing this a long time. I'm still working. I mean, it's terrifying. It's exciting. We have to take risks. My brother is obviously like fronting it all, and has obviously brought me along to kind of do all those bits and pieces. But yeah, it's really, really exciting. I mean, probably not going to lower any stress levels, but I mean, honestly, I do wonder.
But
sometimes.
you're clearly doing something right, Candice, because you know, we're sitting here 6 years later, you know, and not to kind of like get too down in the dumps about it. Hospitality is taking a major
Honestly,
hitting at the moment, and you're
like
still there.
We've got friends who have had to close places that have been open 30 years, that are family run business, and that is not lost on me. And I mean, that is a worry. It's a worry every single day. But I just think we have to keep battling. We have to keep doing these bits and pieces, because if we don't, and we don't keep kind of hoping for that little bit of a turnaround or that change of tide, then, or fighting for those change of tides, like when I stood under a giant pint glass fighting for tax reduction on pints and things like that, those silly things that mean so much because we're living it, we're in it, and I think it's so important, and hopefully we're kind of doing our little bits to kind of build up those things. So yeah, it's incredibly exciting, it's incredibly terrifying. So much more kind of to learn and so much to do, but yeah, big shakes really. And I'd love to do another book and things, because I suppose what I am doing is very different to other people. It's very different to any other kind of, I suppose, Bake Off of person or anything like, but also in the industry as well.
Absolutely.
I do have a lot to offer, but yeah, I know it's a difficult place at the moment, but as you will as well, we're not going to stop doing what we're doing and stop plugging away, are we?
No one's stopping me.
No.
I mean, again, something else that makes you a little bit different, in a good way, but I just want to briefly sort of touch on before we sort of round up, is your charity work.
Yeah.
You've just come back a month or so ago from the Himalayas.
Yeah.
You do a lot of work with Copperfield.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to me about your involvement with them, because you've done 10
I think it's 10 treks. Yeah, I think it was 7. I want to say 7 week like long treks now, and then 3 day treks. Just back from the Himalayas with Copperfield, which Giovanna fronts them all up. Just the most phenomenal person, with just honestly, just the world is a better place for her, and obviously the charity set up by Chris and her twin Maren. Obviously, unfortunately, Chris passed away May 24. And yeah, the legacy that they and she has created through Copperfield is just incredible. It's an early detection of breast cancer. The earlier the detection, the more chance of survival. And it's about checking and knowing what's normal for you. And that's men, women, young, old, and everyone in between. Armpits, boobs, nipples, necks. We talk about Copperfield, your balls, your bum, like everything. If it's not normal for you, ask about it. And if you're not happy with that answer, ask again. And I went on the first one in 2019 to the Himalayas, and I just fell in love with the charity. I fell in love with G. I fell in love with the treks. And I think around about that time was difficult, and it saved me. It made my brain go, okay. And you know what? These treks saved me time and time again. To listen to and walk alongside actual superhumans, superheroes who have just had mastectomies, who have lost parents, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, who have lost twins, who are going through cancer, who are stage 4 secondary, and they're climbing mountains. You can't bottle that. You can't. It's unbelievable how the resilience of people, and faced with the shittest of times, will still climb a mountain. And for me, I hate walking. I hate hills. I'm a rubbish camper.
Are you camping for the
okay. Yeah, so disorganised. And I keep going back year after year and doing it because there's just something, it's just this reset and this understanding that, regardless of what's going on, people are incredible.
How much money do you reckon you've raised over the years?
So Giovanna, from the time she started fronting the Copperfield Trek, she's raised just over £5 million now. Incredible. This year across 2 week-long treks. So we did the Brecon Beacons and the Himalayas. The Brecons was bloody tough. There's a reason the SAS trained there. A delusional point where I did a wild wee that was not wild at all, and one of the leaders radioed down, "Can we tell Candice there is nothing wild about that wee?" I was very tired at that point. Sorry everybody that saw my arse on that day. Not just Copperfield people either. People have gone for a nice day out, a nice little walk, and just in the full moon at the bottom of Penna Van. And then a couple of day treks was, I think it's 1.2 million this, or probably even more this year.
Wow.
And then with that, I'm a patron for Dots, Dogs on the Street. So I talk so much about my doggies. I've got 3 rescue dogs. So important to adopt and not shop. I think just animals is just a huge thing with me. But Dogs on the Street is offering free veterinary care for the homeless community and their animals, because most of the time there are so few places that will accept animals, like hostels and things, to support homeless people. And obviously they can't afford the veterinary care. And what Dots do is offer that support, whether it is fleeing domestic violence, whether it's support for the animals, whether it is hospitalisation. So somewhere the dogs need to go somewhere, because a lot of the time these people are on the streets because their animals, their dogs, are keeping them alive. And it's about reducing those stigmas and those misconceptions of what homelessness is about, and these people are on the streets because they're this, because they're that. No, they are humans, and that's an incredible, and I feel very, very passionate about them. And then also I'm an ambassador for Alzheimer's Research UK, which is really important. Grandad had Alzheimer's, so I've seen firsthand how just heartbreaking the disease is, and I've run 2 marathons and a couple of half marathons, and as well as walking. Anyone that's seen my marathon training videos have seen that I am less than inspirational when I am running.
Me too. I've done a marathon.
The swears
never again.
Is like nothing you've ever heard. The face is like nothing you've ever heard. The noises should come out of a farmyard, honestly. But I do it because.
But you did it. Okay,
yeah, I
you
did
do
it.
them.
I do it because. Is something that's so close to my heart, and these things, it's still one of those things. I'm one of these people that there's not enough time in the world. I want to be doing it all, but I love the charity stuff. I love giving back. I want to do more all the time. And I know there's only so many hours in the day and so much you can do, but I feel very, very passionate, and I'm really lucky to be patron ambassador and part of those charities, as well as the other stuff that I do. It means a lot that charities put their trust in me as well to be a little bit vocal about it, even if it does embarrass people when I tell them to check their nipples for discharge and dimpling and check their balls. And you can see them at things like when we do pub in the park, they're all like, and I'm like, why are you embarrassed? Because one day it'd be too late to be embarrassed, and that's what you need to remember.
I couldn't agree more. You are just like a wonderful human being.
Oh,
You
don't
really
you'll make
are.
me cry.
We're going to finish with a few quick fire questions.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
They have to be quick fire.
Oh God, okay.
All right.
Yep.
What is the craziest food you've ever eaten?
Oh, first thing that comes to mind is probably jelly deals, even though they're my dad's favourite thing.
What do they taste like?
The eel meat is fine. It can be quite meaty. It's the jelly. And for me, ADHD and the texture can make me lose my absolute shit. So I won't eat peas. So for me, peas is probably up there.
Really?
Honestly, peas can literally go beep yourself. Honestly, like the devil. Awful.
What about
awful.
a mushy pea?
Even worse.
Okay, right, that's the end of that one. Okay.
And apparently we make good ones at the pub, and I'm like, absolutely not.
Wouldn't even know. You wouldn't know.
I'd rather, I don't know,
Okay.
eat a jelly deal.
What's been your most memorable meal?
My most memorable meal was I went up to the Newport, which was run by Jamie Scott. He'd been on MasterChef, the professionals, and I went up there to do some work up there. And it's not quick fire at all, sorry. But I'd been up there previously, and I was on my own, and I sat reading Harry Potter, and I just sat reading, and he did me 12 courses plus wine, and I sat and I ate the lot. And he kept coming out going, "You're my actual hero," and I just kept bringing him, and I just sat there, I reckon, for just hours, just enjoying and eating. And people kept saying, "Do you want to come and join us? Are you all right?" And I was like, honestly, just every part of that meal was incredible. And he made me this cauliflower tempura cheese thing that he did, and he did it specially so it come off the menu because he knew I'd loved it. But I literally ate. I just ate it all. I just loved it. I ate it all. But then going back to that, you can go back and go straight away in my mind, those dinners at my nan's house when we were all there, the brown weird chairs that she had made, and just being there and just seeing her. So, yeah, from simple to the extravagant.
My favourite snack of all time is a packet of crisps.
Love a crisp.
What is your favourite flavour of crisps?
Oh, do you know what? Do you know, I would always, if someone said to me, "What would you like now?" I'd go Walker's cheese and onion.
Okay.
I just think they're just simplicity. If I had a bit more time to think about it, I could probably go to others. But I just think they're just a really good crisp. What's yours?
Pickled onion Monster Munch.
So we could both be stinking together.
Damn right. If I'm not smelling after a packet of crisps,
It's not worth it.
I don't
is
want
it?
the crisps.
It's like pointless. Like, I love a twiglet. But
I
don't
love a twiglet.
I love a twiglet. And you get all the brown bit
Such
on
an
your hand.
underrated. Well, is a crisp is a twiglet a crisp?
Or a what?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it a
either.
crisp?
But what is a crisp? Is a crisp has to be potato?
Well, then there we go. Because
yeah.
because the ones that I like are all made of maize.
What's your favourite maize snack?
There we go. A pickled onion Monster
Love
Munch.
a what's it? as
Love a
well.
what's it.
Again, smelly.
Yeah.
And dirty.
Yes. I call them dirty crisps.
Dirty. Oh, I love a dirty crisp. I love a crisp. When I go on holiday, I do crisp reviews.
Me too.
Have to.
Yes.
Holiday crisps.
And always taste different
So
and
good.
usually better.
So good. So
Okay.
good.
What food sums up happiness for you?
Chicken nuggets. Quick it up for you. Honestly, I love a chicken nugget. Everyone says, "What's your guilty pleasure?" I'm like, chicken nugget. I'm not even guilty about it. I love a chicken nugget. Every sort of chicken nugget.
What are you dipping it into?
Little bit of barbecue sauce. Only a tiny bit though. Only a tiny bit. I'm not a big old dunker. I'm not a massive fan of sauces. I love chicken nuggets.
What's your favourite bake?
A carrot cake. And interestingly, it was one that my nan couldn't really and didn't really do, but I love a carrot cake with everything in. There's one in my book. It's got pineapple, it's got banana in it. It's moist. Moist. Sorry. I love that word. Yeah, favourite bake. But I love making pastry as well. So pies, anything pie-based, pastry-based.
What's your go-to pub meal?
Oh, if they've got a fish cake on the menu, I'll often have a fish cake. Mine are very good. The pubs are very good. Probably the pie, in all honesty, if they've got, again, pie and mash.
Yeah, there we go.
But again, nothing beats ours. I've ruined it. Our pub has ruined it for anyone that works there or lives. Like, we live there. It's so bloody good. But yeah,
Okay.
pie and mash.
Finally, live to eat or eat to live?
Live to eat. You knew I was going to say
Right,
that.
come on.
The fuel question. Absolutely. No, absolutely. We're so lucky. So we need to be enjoying everything and tasting everything and sharing experiences and creating memories through food. Because I think there's so much that can come from that.
Candice, this was a beautifully honest conversation. Please continue doing what you're doing. Keep putting a smile on all of our faces. Keep having that beautiful smile on your face. And I really admire your resilience, your strength, and just your passion.
Thank you.
And I wish nothing but greatness for you.
Cry. No, I do appreciate it, and thank you for doing what you do, because I know we speak out of this, and I know obviously you're working really hard, and obviously this as well is opening up these conversations. Obviously people like me, but other people in different areas, and I know you're busting your ass as well. So thank you to you.
I don't know any other way. Until next time. Thank you for listening. If you love what you hear, please subscribe and review. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram @CrazySexyFood. Until next time, bye.